Hey friends, welcome back to this week's episode of the Shannon McCabe Show. I'm so excited this week to dive in to chatting about your first sober holidays. This is a topic really near and dear to my heart. But before I get to that, I want to thank you guys for all of the feedback on this podcast. Every week I'm hearing from more and more of you, either via email, sending me notes through my website, sending me direct messages over on Instagram, and I'm just blown away by, first of all of the places you guys are listening. I think when I checked this week, we have listeners in 57 countries now, which is just amazing. And honestly, kind of hard for me to wrap my brain around. But as I always say, when I talk about the stats, I do that because I want you guys to hopefully feel really empowered that you're not alone. We're not weird for living a sober lifestyle or wanting to live a sober lifestyle and trying to quit drinking and trying to rebuild a life that feels so good that we don't need or want to drink. Because the fact that every week more and more people are listening to this podcast, more and more of you are connecting with me, choosing to connect with each other, whether that's by leaving comments on the blog, by leaving comments here on the podcast, by coming into one of my private communities so that you can meet other women. Just the fact that there are so many of us that are having these conversations show the power in numbers that we have and show the power in choosing this lifestyle, whatever we've chosen it for, right? Whatever reason that is, whether you've had a rock bottom or have not had a rock bottom, whether you're just like, man, alcohol doesn't make me feel good, I'm ready to be done with it. Maybe you've had a health scare. Maybe you know that you really do have a problem and you're finally ready to admit that. It honestly does not matter to me why you're here and how we all get to this point. But I'm just so grateful that you guys are here, that you tune in every week, and that these conversations touch you. Not a day goes by that I don't give thanks and just really hand over heart, thank God for this mission and my platform and just the connections that we're making and the work that we're doing, the work that you guys are letting me do, helping people realize that there's so much life to live without alcohol. So on that note, I want to dive into this week because we're coming up on the holidays. And I'm going to preface this already by saying, if you're coming to this episode later and it is not the holiday season, there is still a lot here that is going to be for you and that you can take away. Because honestly, everything that I say, if you just replace the holidays with any big sober first coming up that has you feeling a little wobbly, that has you feeling a little stressed, that maybe has you starting to romanticize alcohol again. Maybe you're being sucked into that dark, dangerous voice of maybe I could moderate. Would it be such a big deal if I just had one? Is it going to be as fun? Is it going to be as special? Am I going to be able to celebrate as much? So this could be a wedding, a vacation, a baby shower, a graduation, your anniversary, your birthday. It could be heading into your first sober summer, anything. I'm talking about the holidays here today because that is the real time that I'm recording this. But absolutely swap out the term the holidays and plug in whatever big sober first is coming up for you that you feel all of a sudden maybe a little bit shakier than you have in a while, and it's throwing you for a loop, because that's really what this conversation is all about, okay? My first sober Thanksgiving, we're going back to the fall of 2022. I was about 10 weeks sober. My quit date is September 10th, 2022. So by the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I was about 10 weeks sober, and I was feeling as steady as I think you can feel at 10 weeks. I had already felt so much physical and mental and emotional improvement. I was really embracing and making my peace with the idea that this was just probably, hopefully, it for me. I was I think I'm gonna just be a sober person now. I want to be a sober person now. All of that being said, I was blindsided by the way I felt on that Thanksgiving, because nobody had talked about, in the program I was in the community I was in, nobody was having conversations at all about how feeling good in your normal, everyday sober life really does not translate to holidays and big, crazy special occasions if you do not intentionally really physically and mentally prepare yourself. And so I found myself on that Thanksgiving, by the end of the day, you guys, I was so mad and I was so pissed off and I was so angry and I was so resentful because as the day went on, I just was slipping deeper and deeper into the overwhelming thoughts of like, this is so unfair. Why can't I drink? Why can't I be a person that can have just one? How am I going to possibly do these other holidays, these other special occasions, all of this stuff? And then I also was really like disappointed in myself for thinking those things because I was like, but wait, 2 days ago, I felt so good about my sober life, right? Like I had somewhat of a sober routine every morning. I was still getting up and like reading Quitlet and checking in with my communities. I was actually already on Instagram at this point, albeit much, much smaller. At that moment, I think that maybe I had like 1,800 followers. Like I had started sharing on Instagram just as another way to hold me accountable. It was really like an online daily diary or journal entry. Like that's journal entry. That's what I was using Instagram for. But I was making enough connections on there that I was having thoughts of like, oh God, if I give in and drink right now, like what do I do? What's going to happen? Do I just not tell people about it? Because I thought about that because my history as a drinker, the way my drinking ended, much of it was in secret. I was hiding how much I was drinking from my husband, from my daughters. I had become an expert, a master of hiding alcohol, sneaking drinks. And so I was thinking all of that too. I was like, you know what? I've done a really good job. I've made it 10 weeks. I know that I think I want to be sober for good for long term, but that day, that Thanksgiving felt so insanely hard. I was so close to just saying, fuck it, honestly. And I was like, I could just drink and not tell anybody, start over again the next day. And then I would be like, okay, then I would know, like, maybe I need to get better prepared. Maybe I need to have a better plan for making it through the rest of the holidays, because that's what I was thinking then is like, is this what this is just going to be like? Like, am I doomed to spend Christmas, which is like my favorite time of year, you guys? The holidays are my favorite time of year. I love the holidays. Every year that I'm a mom, every year that my kids get older, I love it more and more, just making memories with my family. And so the thought of now being like, okay, well, I quit drinking and everything's getting better, but are the holidays going to suck? Because these these days where alcohol had always played such a part of it, and now I had taken alcohol out of it, and I just felt like angry and resentful, and all of the stuff I thought I had worked through was coming back up. So my head was just like a swirl of emotions, which was really unsettling, really frustrating. It made me really mad. It made me mad at myself. It made me mad at alcohol. It just made me mad at the world. By the time like that Thanksgiving night ended, I didn't drink. Like, thank God. I really don't know what, other than just like sheer willpower and determination and the grace of God, I did not pick up a drink that night. But I went to bed so mentally exhausted and so feeling things that I had thought I moved past, right? It was FOMO. It was romanticizing alcohol. It was wondering, like, God, could I moderate? Like, what if I just only drink on the holidays? Like, all of this stuff. And by the time I woke up the next morning, a lot of that had lifted, right? Like it always does. The mornings are always where we have more clarity, where we can think more, where we think more clearly, we feel better. We're so grateful we didn't drink. And I was so grateful that I did not break my momentum, that I did not disappoint myself, that I could feel really proud of myself and really extra proud of myself because I made it through what felt like ended up being a really dark day without drinking. But I instantly realized in that moment that I had to figure my shit out. I was just like, I refuse to spend the rest of this holiday season feeling like this. I was completely caught off guard by how much all of those thoughts of, but holidays aren't special if I don't drink. I'm romanticizing alcohol again, all of it. It completely caught me off guard, but it was really strong and really real. And I was like, I remember saying to myself, and I've still got the journal pages, like, I need a plan. I need to make an actual plan. I do not want to waste one family gathering. I don't want to waste our friend Christmas gathering. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I'm like, okay, then I just need to make a plan. I need to take all of the ways that I felt yesterday, all of the things that I wasn't prepared for on Thanksgiving, and figure out how to address them so I didn't feel that way again at any other gathering going into Christmas. And you guys, It was one of the pivotal moments of my sobriety because I realized this moment, that is where one of my key terms, one of the things you hear me say a lot, which is hope is not a strategy. It came from that moment because I realized that, like, by the skin of my teeth, did I make it through that Thanksgiving sober. But I'm like, I can't just hope that I stay sober through Christmas. I have to have a plan, or I don't know. I didn't know that I would make it through it again. I wanted to feel more prepared and feel more empowered. And my experience, the way my brain works, and then even then, this was my work, my training as a certified holistic nutritionist, as a wellness coach, even though I wasn't specifically talking about nutrition or anything, just the methodologies that I already lived my life by of like, okay, well, if we see a problem, then let's tackle the problem. Let's come up with a plan. Let's come up with a solution, a formula, and just work it. Just start working the problem. And so this is what I was doing. I was like, okay, I need to look at all the ways I felt yesterday, compare them to how I would rather feel. And then how do I bridge that gap? How do I go from all of a sudden FOMO taking me over again and like just being so mad that I couldn't drink anymore? How did I replace that FOMO and get back to focusing on like everything that I was gaining by being sober? How did I also combat like romanticizing alcohol again? And this was another light bulb moment for me where I realized that, first of all, I realized that this is where I had to give myself a lot of grace, because what was happening that, again, I didn't know, I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't expect it because nobody talked about it, but I knew now to be ready for it and to be vigilant, was that even though I had 10 weeks of sobriety, even though I felt really good in my day-to-day sober life, because I had created routines, every day I was creating this new, like, updated version of me that did not drink. I didn't have that version of me yet for holidays. So the only like actual pictures I could replay in my mind, the only images and visceral feelings I had for holidays were of me as a drinker. And me as a heavy drinker, because that's how my holidays ended, right? Like I mean, let's be real. It wasn't just holidays because I was drinking daily by the point my drinking ended. But the holidays, for sure, I didn't have to hide it as much because it was just like, it's the holidays, 'tis the season. Every night, you guys, I had a wine glass. Like, I had like a red Christmas wine tumbler. Every night during the holidays, it would be filled to the brim. Like, I would fill it to the brim with Prosecco. I drank Prosecco like water the last couple years that I was drinking, and especially during the holidays. And so what I realized is that for me, as soon as the calendar flipped to November 1st and it became holiday season in my life, I no longer had any frame of reference for how I, now as a sober person, would show up in this scenario. As my only memories, my only recent adult experiences were very, very alcohol, like soaking and drowning in alcohol, because that was my life. So I was like, I've got to figure out how to take the things that I feel really good about in my day-to-day normal becoming routine sobriety and make them translate to the holidays. Otherwise, it was going to knock me on my ass again. And I'm sharing this. I want to talk about this today because I know that a lot of you are there already, because what's happened since, as I started talking about this. So then you fast forward to the following year real quick, when I'm like a year and 2 months sober, I started talking about this. I started sharing this. I put together a really informal coaching group. I threw it into a digital guide. And you guys, the response was astounding, because so many women listen to me talk and they're like, oh my God, me too. Thank you. They're like, I'm 2 months sober. I'm 3 months sober. I'm 6 months sober. I feel fantastic about being sober. But now all of a sudden we're making plans for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm thinking thoughts again, like maybe I could have just one. Is it really that big of a deal if I drink through the holidays? And we get to this point where all of a sudden we're contemplating things that we thought we were past. We're contemplating ideas like, maybe I really can moderate. Maybe there really is just special occasion drinking. And then instantly the war starts, right? Because we've learned enough where we're like, but wait, I know that that's not how it works. I know that when I start drinking again after a break, I'm 99% sure I'm going to end up drinking even more very, very soon. And we've learned the truth about alcohol, and we're like, I don't want to drink because I know that it's the same ethanol I put in my car. I know that it's one of the most addictive substances on the planet. I know that it's killing all of the cells in my body and shrinking my brain as soon as I drink. So it's like, we know we don't want it, But again, when our only frame of reference is holidays, all of a sudden, like our resolve just starts to crumble and melt. And so this very quickly, this meaning a conversation, an actual practical guide of how to get through your first sober holidays quickly became kind of a hallmark signature topic for me, a signature program. We're now heading into the third sober holiday season for me. And this is still one of the things I talk about most because, like clockwork, it happens to almost all of us where we are cruising along, feeling pretty good in our sobriety. And then the holidays come and it's like, whoa, I did not see this coming. I did not see this romanticizing alcohol coming. I did not see these thoughts of moderating again. I did not see that I was going to be a person that was all of a sudden kind of like wavering and stumbling and second guessing all of this progress I've made. So what we need to do here is go back and make a plan. And so I want to share with you a glimpse of the process I went through and the plan that I made, that in that short period of time from that first Thanksgiving to our next holiday gathering, which I think was actually like a friend's Christmas get together, just like 2 weeks later, I had, like I said, in my journal, written out this step-by-step plan of what I was going to do. And you guys, the rest of that holiday season still, like, it holds such a special place in my heart because I was blown away by the difference. I was blown away by how just like calm and happy I felt. I did not at all, one more time, and I have not since then, struggled with FOMO. I did not have any moment of watching friends and family around me drink. Like, I don't at all want to give you the impression that I'm just like surrounded by non-drinkers now, because I'm not. A lot of my friends and family still drink. Although I see now how the majority of them are normal drinkers, meaning they have one or two, maybe three, over a span of hours, and that's it. I see now how my drinking was always kind of outside of the box because I was always the person trying to finish bottles and drinking from other people's bottles of stuff so nobody would notice that I had finished my bottle of wine within like the first hour of being there, while other people were like sipping a beer for 2 hours. And I still don't understand how people do that, but they do. But anyways, so I made it then through the rest of that Christmas season, not even just making it through. It was truly one of the most special and memorable of my life because I had so much fun. And I felt so relaxed and I felt so confident in myself, but also in my sobriety. I did not stumble at all to answer people's questions of like, well, oh my gosh, are you still not drinking? Like, are you not drinking? Why? What's going on? I sailed through all of the drink offers. I knew how to set myself up with a strong routine so that even if things did get a little out of my control, meaning like maybe an event went longer than I thought it was going to go, maybe there ended up being a lot more booze around me than I had anticipated, I still never felt in danger of drinking. I never dipped back into that place that I had been on Thanksgiving where I was just so close to throwing it all away. So I'm really passionate about having this conversation with women, with everybody really, but especially with women, letting you guys know that, first of all, hope is not a strategy. If you have had these voices coming back, tempting you to drink through the holidays just because you're afraid of how big it feels, of how new it feels. You're afraid that it's not going to be as special. It's not going to be as fun. How are you going to answer people's questions? What are you going to do instead? You guys, it is 100% possible to not just survive the holidays, but actually feel fantastic through them. The way I hope you're feeling in most of your daily life, but this all comes down to having routines and having habits, having a plan and working that plan. And the whole point is that we prepare and control what we can, and then get ourselves to a point where we're resilient enough to handle the things that we can't control. And we do this specifically for the holidays, but we do it mostly more in our everyday life, so that then we're just kind of needing to tweak things a little bit when the holidays come around, okay? Because this is what I found to be true, and this is what I figured out doing during that first year, and what I have really honed in on in the couple years since, is that our sober holidays become so much easier and become filled with ease and peace and confidence and a lot of fun and a lot of relaxation when our daily routine supports us feeling like that all of the time. Because then we just have to make a couple extra tweaks for the holidays, right? Then we just have to get ourselves prepared for, like, the extra people, the extra events, the extra chaos, the extra emotion, and know how we're going to respond to things. But when we are in the practice of doing this in our everyday life anyways, it becomes so much easier. So what I want to talk about today really is kind of just sharing a glimpse into how I prepared for that first sober holiday, but then zoom out and really, how do I approach basic, everyday, normal life so that now things like holidays and any big event, like I said, this can be a weekend away with friends, this can be a vacation, this can be a wedding, this can be a birthday, an anniversary, anything or everything that is slightly out of the ordinary, is slightly a big deal, carries a little bit more pressure, a little bit more emotion, how you just take solid daily non-negotiables that you do to protect your sobriety, to protect your peace, to show up in your life the way you want to, me feeling calm most of the time, feeling capable most of the time, feeling like you can respond when life gives you things that don't make you feel calm and capable, right? Those stressful, chaotic moments that pull at us. We can handle all of it. We can learn to handle all of it by just putting systems in place where we are constantly teaching ourselves and tweaking how we respond to things and how we prepare for things so that we like how we respond to them, okay? So what I'm going to touch on, you guys, I have this kind of broken down into 4 little areas that we're going to talk about real quick. Holidays obviously are one of them because that's what we're talking about here today. But holidays are like the zooming in. It's like looking through the microscope at one little thing. We're also going to zoom out and just talk about, like I said, your normal day-to-day life. And for me, that means focusing on my mornings and how I start my day, focusing on my evenings, my bedtime, how the day ends, and then in between, how do I handle stress? How do I respond to the chaos that can be life? And then how does that all translate into the holidays, okay? Because what I've done, what you guys are going to see at the end of this, is I have actually put this all into a collection that you guys can access. So you can basically get my play-by-play of how I do life. Because this is, in addition to people asking, like, sober holidays, how do I get through sober holidays? People always want to know too, like, how do I do my life, you guys? Because I'm a homeschool mom. I have 3 girls. One of my daughters has special needs. So I am not just a mom, I am a 24/7 caregiver to a now adult disabled daughter. Dylan has Down syndrome. She has autism. She does not talk. She is in diapers 24/7. She is going to live with my husband and I for the rest of our lives, God willing. I homeschooled her and her sisters through that. I have always worked from home. I have worked full time as a holistic nutritionist, wellness coach, now sober coach for the last 10, 11, 12 years. Life is crazy. Life is chaotic. But since I quit drinking, it has also become the most calm, the most fulfilling. I feel the most confident and capable that I've ever felt in my whole entire life. I relax more now than I ever did when I was drinking. I have more fun now than I ever did when I was drinking. And this all happens because I have dialed in a set of routines and habits that I live by every day so that I can control what I can control, which admittedly is not very much, you guys. I get there's not much in life we can control, but I control what I can so that then the stuff that I can't control, right? How is Dylan going to act on a given day? What's going to happen with my other daughters, teenage daughters, adult daughters? It's crazy. What's going to happen with my clients? What am I going to have to deal with work? How am I going to support my husband and his, support him emotionally and mentally? I mean, how am I going to show up in my marriage? How am I going to show up in friendships? All of this gets dialed in by what I do on a daily basis, how I start my day, how I end my day, how I deal with stress in the middle of it. And then the bonus of how did I tailor all of this to holidays specifically, right? And so you guys, this framework, this collection, this basically like a play-by-play of how I do my life so that I'm not just surviving. I'm not just winging it. I'm not just white knuckling it. I'm not always saying like, oh, this will get easier when, right? Like this will get easier when the kids get older. This will get easier when the kids are out of the house. This will get easier when we make more money. This will get easier when this sport is over. This will get easier when this season of caregiving is over. Whatever, you guys. We don't wait for those things to happen, because I don't know if you figured this out like I have, but life, I don't know. Things almost actually never get easier. Right? When we tell ourselves that it's just one season, there's always another season coming, right? So all this to say, it doesn't matter if you have kids or not, like I do. It doesn't matter if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, even your 60s. You can create habits that reliably help you feel the way you want to feel, which is calm, capable, proud, excited, inspired, creative, driven, fun, relaxed, all of that. You can do this, like I said, so that you can control what you can control in your life, and then respond the way you want to the things that you can't control, okay? So, a glimpse. What is this collection? What are these habits that I'm talking about? Like I said, the first thing, you guys, is morning. So we're going to talk about, real quick, mornings, stress. How do I handle basically the unpredictable, chaotic parts? How do I structure my evenings? And then holidays. Holidays are like the added timely bonus, okay? So when we're talking about mornings, you guys, starting your day with intention instead of just reacting to life from the second you get up makes all the difference in the world. And I have had different variations of a morning routine from the time that my kids were little. Even during the worst of my drinking years, you guys, I still had a morning routine. Now, I was sabotaging most of it by constantly being hungover, but I still had it. And it has gotten so much better and so much more meaningful since then. But I share that I've had it for years because, you guys, I want you to know and believe that even if you are in the phase of life, in the thick of it, where you've got small kids right now, you can still come up with a morning routine, right? I was actually just talking to a private client this week. Her kids are like 14 months and 4. And so we're just talking about how it looks for her. Some days her gratitude practice can't even be sitting down in a journal. It's like mentally in her head while she's in the shower. Maybe it is doing a mental gratitude practice while you're rocking a little baby. Maybe it's while you're driving to work, and instead of just mindlessly listening to the radio, you're listening to a meditation, you're listening to a prayer podcast, you're listening to something that's like sobriety, uplifting, something like that. Maybe it's just breath work. Maybe your morning routine is simply getting your face in the sun for 1 minute, if that's all you can muster. And then there's other phases of life where we get a lot more time, right? Like right now, yes, I am in a phase of life where Dylan and I are up at the crack of dawn. She's pretty quiet in the mornings. So on a good day, I get like a solid 45 minutes that I sit down, and it is all gratitude, prayer. Like that's my morning. But there were a lot of years that it didn't look like this, and it doesn't have to look like that. But it can be anything. It doesn't matter if you have 5 minutes or 50 minutes. Simple, powerful routines that incorporate gratitude, affirmations, mantras, prayer, meditation, sunlight on your face, or red light therapy if you're like me and live in the Midwest and sometimes we don't see the sun for weeks at a time in the winter. Maybe it's stretching, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's movement, it's cuddling with your pet. Starting your day with intention, though, is the whole point. So before the world starts pulling at you, before everybody starts bombarding you with what they need from you, you get your heart and your head centered and get yourself connected into what matters to you and coming from a place of calm. Like I said, so that we're starting our day with intention instead of reacting to everybody else's fire around us. Okay. So then we move on to like stress. Like, how do we handle the chaos and the overwhelm? And like I said, I get it, you guys. And this is what I know this is what many of us struggle with. These stressful moments in life are what are at the crux of most of us drinking, right? Because this is what I hear constantly. And this was me. If it's those of us that are parents, it's like, oh my God, but the kids are so little and it's so loud and I'm touched out and I'm tapped out and I can't get any time for myself. And then the kids get older and it's like, all I'm doing is driving them around. They have a million activities. I never get any time for myself. When you're even older than that, it's the kids leave and you're an empty nest and it's sad and you're heartbroken. And what do I do now? And then even if you don't have kids, it's just like my career, it's my husband, it's our in-laws, it's our aging parents. You guys, life is stressful. I 100% get it. So when we're talking about how do we handle that stress, you absolutely can have habits and routines in a toolbox, basically. This is basically what I call it, is this is your toolkit. It's a reset. It's practices that you learn to turn to and rely on when life wants you to feel overwhelmed and anxious and sad and frustrated. And I'm not saying we don't feel those things, but we learn how to move through them, to move past them, rather than just sitting stuck in them, right? And being overtaken by them. So we learn things like nutrition. We talk about things like breathing. We talk more about things like mantras and affirmations and prayers and journaling. We talk about breath work. Talk about actual things that you can do anywhere, anytime when stress threatens to pull you under, basically, and come back to a place of calm. So inside this collection that I have for you guys, this stress reset, it is literally the play-by-play of what I do on a daily basis when I get overwhelmed by being a special needs mom. When my to-do list as a working mom and a homeschool mom is so much longer than I could possibly get done in a day, but a lot of it needs to get done. This is how I stay calm and capable and keep doing things and keep showing up. This is how I handle when life just makes me want to cry, basically, right? Because we all have days like that. There are tools, there are habits, there are skills that we learn. It's all just about learning the things that help you move through these feelings rather than becoming stuck and paralyzed and being a woman that's just like, oh my God, I'm just anxious all the time. I'm sad all the time. I'm depressed all the time. No, we can feel anxious for a minute and then we're going to try A, B, C, and D, see which one helps us best in that moment so we move through those anxious feelings and get back to a place of trusting that we're capable and can do things, okay? So then I also talk about and share with you guys a sleep routine. Sleep is so important, you guys. And this is definitely one of the things that women struggle with the most when we're coming out of our problematic relationship with drinking, because sleep gets so hijacked and so messed up when we're drinking alcohol. But learning, retraining ourselves to sleep well, because again, you guys, we can. All of this stuff, everything we're talking about, these are just skills you need to learn, right? So sleep, there are very easy, specific things you can do to sleep better, right? So we're going to talk about what are you eating or not eating in the hours before bed? What are you doing and not doing in the hours before bed? When should you turn off your screens? What should the atmosphere of your bedroom be like? Are there supplements and natural things you can take? Not medications. We're not talking about drugs, but we're talking about things that your body might be deficient in. You are definitely probably deficient in if you are still coming off of your years of drinking. Things that you can take, you can replenish your body with that are actually going to help you sleep better, right? So we talk about magnesium, we talk about other herbs, things that you can do that are safe and natural and protective and productive to help you learn how to sleep better. Because then when we sleep better, oh my God, the trickle effect on that, on our physical and mental health is, you guys, it's light years. The change is night and day, literally, which sounds really cheesy when I'm talking about sleep. But it's what happens. So the sleep solution portion of this collection walks you through checklists and through a process of figuring out, like I said, what is your sleep environment like? Are you even carving out enough time of your day for sleep? And if not, then let's go back to talking about your priorities in your life. What's going on in your life that's taking away from your sleep? All of these things are just problems that can be solved, right? Sleep is something that I protect now the same way that like I protect my sobriety and I protect my family and my children, because when I am not well rested on a somewhat usual basis, everything suffers. And I say this, you guys, again, I want you to know that I get that. How do I want to say this? Basically, like my sleep, 99% of the time involves me sleeping with Dylan. Again, Dylan is my adult disabled daughter. Down syndrome, autism. She does not sleep well. She does not sleep unless I sleep in bed with her. So I have this rock solid sleep routine, but I also get that life is crazy because my rock solid sleep routine involves me co-sleeping with an 18-year-old disabled child. Okay. So I get that I'm not talking about like I get a luxurious spa night sleep every night. No, you guys, this is real life. I get real life, but there are absolutely still things we can do to ensure that we're getting the best sleep possible in the situation that is our real life, okay? Like I said, this is a skill. It's a skill you can develop like any other skill. So then we move into the bonus of this collection, talking about the holidays, okay? And you guys, this is that original process I developed that first year that I was sober. After that Thanksgiving that almost tanked me. The process that came out of my journal, out of my own, like I made these worksheets for myself to help me answer the questions of like, okay, what made me so sad and angry on that first Thanksgiving? What did I need to acknowledge when I was dealing a lot with like FOMO and romanticizing alcohol? I took myself through a process of part of it was asking questions like, okay, Shannon, if we're going to romanticize alcohol, we're also going to get really real about the reality of my drinking. I made myself sit down and counter all of that glamorization, all of that romanticizing of drinking with the reality of what my drinking during the holidays was like. Because I don't know about you guys, but it wasn't usually as great as like the beautiful, like twinkly tinged memories in my head. It was how many hangovers ruined holidays. How many parts of holidays did I actually maybe not even remember anymore because I got so blackout drunk? Were there times that I said or did inappropriate and embarrassing things because of how much I drank? So it's a process of taking all of these things we commonly feel like I'm going to be missing out, but everybody drinks and it's so glamorous and fun. I'm going to feel sad and left out. Let's actually work through all of these. Let's ask a very intentional series of questions so that you get yourself back to the place of being like, oh yeah, you know what? No, I'm actually fine not drinking. Because yes, as tempting and as like persuasive as that romanticizing of alcohol is, that's not reality. It's not the reality of our drinking. So when we can come back to that reality and get anchored, we get back to the place of like, no, actually, I'm fine. I don't want to drink. But then we still want to be prepared. How are we going to answer all those questions when people at your family Christmas, at the family Thanksgiving, at Friendsgiving, when they're asking you like, you're not drinking? You're still not drinking? Why? What's up? What happened? What's going on? Do you have a problem? Get yourself feeling confident and prepared. Practice these questions ahead of time. Have answers to them ahead of time. And we talk about travel. What is it going to be like when you're out of kind of like your safe home field advantage and you have to travel someplace else for the holidays? How do you work in still having a solid sober routine? How do you make sure that you have time to get your head right in the morning? How do you make sure that you can protect yourself in situations where you might still feel tempted? How do you make sure you can take a break when you need to take a break or just exit and leave altogether if that's what you want to do? So this holiday, that's just a glimpse of it, you guys. This holiday guide, like I said, is what now, I mean, this will be the third year that I have used that to specifically guide and coach women through making sure your first sober holidays is something that you don't just survive, but you actually rock it, where you are like, oh my God, this turned out so much better than I possibly thought it could because I didn't feel FOMO. I didn't feel left out. I wasn't like jonesing for a drink and white knuckling. And I also wasn't avoiding things because we do this preparation work ahead of time. We learn how to make this mental checklist, prepare ourselves so that we know we can get through anything and actually come out of it at the end of December, at the beginning of January. So grateful for like one of the most meaningful, one of the most special holiday seasons we've probably had in a really, really long time. So together, all of this, everything that I just described, you guys, this is basically the handbook for how I do sober life. This is how I do everything that I do on a daily basis and do it all sober and do it all actually being happy. I am not here. I did not quit drinking to just survive my life. I did not quit drinking to just be like, well, yeah, I'm sober. So yay, that's great. It's like, no. My life now is 1,000 times better than when it was drinking. And my life was pretty good when I was drinking. There were parts of it that I was absolutely, definitely happy and thrilled with, but they've all gotten better now. And the bad parts have gotten better now. I have gotten better now. And the holidays are just like the icing on the cake because as much as I have always loved Christmas and as amazing as this time of year has always been, it is like magnified in a way I can't even describe now that I'm sober. I would not go back to drinking holidays if you paid me. Like you could not pay me to drink through the holidays. You really couldn't. So you guys, if you're listening to this, if you've been listening and you're like, oh my God, yeah, like I'm feeling the holidays just are throwing me for a loop. You thought you were good. You thought you were steady. And now you're like, crap, why am I like romanticizing alcohol again? Or maybe you haven't even gotten to the point where you feel really good and steady yet, because all you've done is quit drinking, which is a huge thing. I'm not saying that quitting drinking is not something really fucking amazing that you shouldn't be proud of. But if you have not yet rebuilt routines, if you have not yet rebuilt habits, so that you're not just surviving, you're not just getting by, but so that you actually feel really happy and calm and capable and resilient in your sober life, let alone the holidays. You guys, this is your invitation. This is a nudge. This is a nudge maybe that you were looking for, maybe you didn't know that you were looking for. That this collection of resources I've put together can fill in almost all of these gaps for you. It really, truly can. It is a guide. It is a handbook, like I said. It is point by point, just almost an endless trove of resources to address all of the key areas of your life so that you show up feeling the way you want to feel regardless of what's happening around you. Because that's the best we can do, right? Like, we can't control so much of what happens, but we can always control our attitude and our effort. And that's what this collection is all about. That's what this sober holiday collection is all about. And like I said, if it's past the holidays, you're listening to this later in the year, you guys, everything in that holiday guide can easily be translated to a vacation, to your first sober summer, to a wedding, to a girls' trip, to an anniversary trip, to just figuring out how to socialize alcohol-free, basically. So I really encourage you to check it out. The link for it is going to be in the show notes. You can find it anytime on my website, you guys. Please know that all of my resources, so all of my free downloads, I have a lot of free resources, all of my programs, so all of my coaching programs, my private communities, things like this sober holiday guide are all on my website, okay? ShannonLeeMcCabe.com. It is going to be linked in the show notes. You guys can always find me there. My blog is there too. A lot more of you are discovering that, which I love, because when we don't have time to listen to a podcast or watch a podcast, we can always read a quick blog, right? So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I am so proud of you for choosing to be here, for choosing this path, and for just continually trying to be like a little bit better than you were yesterday, right? Like, that's what's going to keep us always going and always growing, is just trying to be the best, trying to be the best us that we can be. And I'm so honored to be a part of that with you guys. So thank you for hanging out. I will be back next week. Make it a good one, you guys.